Hey, Twitchers. That's my intro.
Twitchers.
Twitchers. The Twitcher. It's the new Netflix series starring Henry Cavill. He just twitches the entire episode. Greetings and salutations, and welcome once again to the Capeless Crusaders live at the time from the digital safe house. I am one of your two co-hosts, the Azorian one Anthony. What's my name again? The Azorian one Anthony Steves, joined by the nerd on representation, the man, the myth, the legend, who is well dressed as he said he would be. He is.
I'm from Team Avatar. I'm Sword. No, it's Sako. But for the hosting duties, I'll be Tom.
I am the Team Avatar.
Drink cactus water; it'll quench you. That's what he says stuff like that, and he's just like, "Let's go to the library," or that's him. So. I'm Sokka. So yeah, what are we doing today?
Tom, I appreciate you dressing up. I threw on one of my Halloween-related shirts. It is a Ghostbuster T-shirt, back off I'm a Scientist, as said by Dr. Peter Venkman, played by Bill Murray. Yeah, we are, of course, the Capeless Crusaders. We are your number one, supposedly, allegedly, rumored to be, chatted about to be, number one podcast for anything comic book related. And this episode, as always, is brought to you by the Nerd On Nation, powered by Patreon. The Nerd On Nation allows us to keep the lights on and up our quality. As a member of the Nerd On Nation for as little as $1 to $5 a month, you get early access to episodes, a Discord community that is always popping over at nerdon.tv/Discord, bonus episodes, and so much more. You again can check all this out at nerdon.tv/Patreon. And of course, for anything related to the Capeless Crusaders and Nerd On, you can head on over to thecapelesscrusaders.com or nerdon.tv/The Capeless Crusaders, your hubs for all things Crusaders. There, you can find all our content as well as the rest of the Nerd On podcast family.
Good job.
Yes, all that right there for you. And of course, it is, I'm still in the accent, I'm going to keep it going.
Of
course, it is the final night of the 4 features of Fright. I almost said nights and then realized it wasn't
4 nights of Frights.
The 4 nights of the round table that feature Fright.
And the Dark Knights.
The final features of Fright here. I have my jack-o'-lantern protecting me from the ghouls that come through the thin barrier, guiding them back to their barrier home. Yes, I know Samhain history because I read books. We have our final 2 features, 2 in one night. That's right. One is a comic, one is a film. We're going to be going over first the comic, written by the Robert Kirkman, the man behind Walking Dead and Invincible, and I think he's done some other things.
A lot of stuff.
Done by a lot of things he's done, and art by Paul. Boy, I hope I said it right. Azaceta, Azaceta. I'm guessing on that one, Azaceta, and that is of course Outcast, which was also adapted into a series.
You have the actual thing.
Yeah, I bought this maybe shortly after it came out because it was Kirkman.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So I bought volume 1.
I was gonna say, where did this come from? Where was that pick? How did you select that?
Yeah. It was when I bought, because I had bought, was one Halloween before we had Halloween episodes, at Empire's Comics Vault. I had purchased the Walking Dead's. I bought like 2 Walking Dead volumes, and then I bought Revival by Tim Seeley. I got the first volume of that, and I picked up this guy, Outcast, volume 1. I didn't continue with them, but I enjoyed what I read. So,
all right.
This reminds me I need to continue. And our second feature tonight, as the jack-o'-lantern is a bit of a hint, we are going over the 2007 Warner Brothers flick, Trick or Treat. Written and directed, by Michael Dougherty, one of the 2 men behind the screenplay of X2, X-Men United, and Superman Returns. So those are our 2 features tonight. But first off, I want to ask Tom, how you doing?
I'm all right. You know what's crazy? You know what?
What's crazy, bro?
What was the last costume you bought and wore?
So, uh, we've been with the few years, the last few years that we were dressing up for parties. Melissa and I kind of created our costumes.
Mm.
So like I've been young Frankenstein monster.
Mm-hmm.
I've been been Johnny Depp's Mad Hatter in
Mm-hmm.
Alice in Wonderland, which my wife actually made the gigantic hat. Last time I bought a suit, I think I bought like pieces for a Batman costume, like the gauntlets, the mask, and like everything else was just like I bought like a black long sleeve. I bought a black long sleeve and black baseball pants, and then I had football pads, and I put the pads under it to look like the armor
But you need to have
that.
hockey pads.
Yeah, see, I wasn't that guy. I was a different guy.
Gotcha.
And my wife was Catwoman, which is funny because my wife looks like Anne Hathaway, but we dressed up shortly after Dark Knight. So we still believe to this day that we gave Christopher Nolan the idea of casting Anne Hathaway in Dark Knight Rises. I'm going to stick by it. I'm
Hey,
going to stick by it.
until they say no, then
Yep,
that's it.
that's my story. Why do you ask about the suits?
Um, remember when a Mr. Ben Affleck got the call to be Batman?
Yes,
What movie was he working on when that happened?
he was working on. Hold on, it wasn't Argo. It wasn't The Town.
It
It
wasn't a
was
film that he directed. It was a film that he
no.
starred in.
Was it the mobster movie? No.
No, it was a film directed by David Fincher.
Oh, Gone Girl.
And then
Yes, one of my
you
favorites.
told me a nice little story what happened when he got the call that he was going to have to do it, and how he hit the gym because he's a tall man, but you got to fill in the suit. You got to be the kid
He had the
crusader.
Bruce Wayne height. He just needed to add a little bit of muscle. That's all.
Do you remember what story you told me about the costume and wardrobe department? What happened as he worked out?
Oh God.
He went up 2 sizes, and the
Yeah.
wardrobe specialist said to stop.
Yes.
Um, do you know that Chris Hemsworth, when he was cast as Thor, in order to have the armor plates for his arms, got fitted, when he got the role. And then
Hmm.
he went to go in for pre-fitting before they started shooting, and then they had to adjust it because his arms got too big.
He's got
Um,
massive arms. Hemsworth has massive arms. And Bale also bulked up too heavily for
for
Batman
Batman
Begins.
Begins, they called him Fat
Right.
Man because
Hmm.
he was just buff. He wasn't even
And
ripped.
that's still my favorite like physique of his is the Batman Begins physique.
Yeah. Um, I got to experience my first ever mishap like that.
Oh, Tom
Uh,
got too buff.
in this costume particularly, and
Tom got too ripped.
it was like I had to like do this as I had to like put this dress on so my
Uh-huh.
shoulder width would get tinier, and I was like,
Nice.
this isn't real. This doesn't happen to
Nice.
me. Like
Massive
that's
Tom.
not how that's not how that works. And I was just and everyone was like, you're too buff. And I was like, but I'm not. Then I was like, I'm
Mhm.
not big by many means possible. And I was just like, oh man. And like I bought a large size thing, but like the shoulder width, I was just so surprised. I was like, oh my god, like this is so tiny. I was like, well,
You
this is a dress at some at one point, so I get it.
you're not the filmic, you the buffic. That's what you are. Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm just trying to be the thick at the end of the
See,
day.
eventually the thick. Eventually you're gonna have the issue I had because athletic fit like went away.
Hmm.
But that was my favorite shirt size was athletic fit and
Hmm.
large because it was like tight here and then loose here. And now I'm like, I gotta find certain brands that mimic that. Like Gildan is a brand that if I get XL, it's tied up here, it's breathable here. So it's like you're in that world now, Tom. You gotta find those shirts that fit your guns right, you know? You gotta hey, you know
Answer.
what? Listen, Project Rock Under Armour, they all fit great.
You know what? I am totally about to buy some like Rock Under Armour clothing,
Just saying.
and I think he has got shoes. I want to buy some of
I
those
got a pair.
shoes.
I
Yeah.
got a pair. I got the Project Rock 2s right here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
these are
look
the
really good.
twos.
They really good for like gym workout training
Oh, they
stuff.
comfy. They are
Versus
comfy.
like I need like hiking shoes, and I also need like running shoes. And I'm like, oh my god, I need like 1,000 shoes.
Get some
Uh,
Chucks.
for running?
No, just have Chucks. You should have a pair of Chucks.
For what?
Just to have it because Chucks are awesome. Chucks are classic.
No, I just like little slip-on sneakers, little Nikes.
All right, well, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
and
I
and
like
for
Chucks.
and for work shoes, I have steel-toed tennis shoes.
Oh,
It's really
so you
cool.
can bash some skulls in.
So I could run in case I need to do something, but
Oh,
also I can protect my
or
toes.
bash
Yeah.
and bash some skulls in if you
Yeah.
have to. It's good.
Answering Ethan, whose question in the chat, where's my boomerang? It's in the living room. I left it right before I went to go. Oh wait, no, it's right here.
Oh, he did bring it. Good, good, good.
It's not great. It's a little dumb, but this character has a boomerang and he has a little bag that holds his boomerang. And
Aw.
so I was like, I gotta do that. The one thing I'm missing, I don't have a neck piece. He has like a little white like collar choker kind of thing, but
Mm.
I got the haircut so I can get it done. And yeah, my barber was like, "You really going through with this?" I'm like, I gotta commit. I gotta commit. I said I was gonna go to Osaka. So, anyways, before we get too far into it, how about we get on with the show?
Let's do it. Let's do that. Let's go into our first segment, the comic portion of our show, where we go into Robert Kirkman and Paul Azuceta's Outcast. So I'm going to read. See that? You all saw that?
Papier.
Physical. I'm
Support your
going
local
to.
bookstore.
There you go. Empire Comics Vault, Sacramento, California. I forgot the address, but I'll just say
Sweet
K.
K.
I'll read the back here for you. A new horror series from the Walking Dead creator Robert Kirkman. Kyle Barnes has been plagued by demonic possession all his life, and now he needs answers. Unfortunately, what he uncovers along the way could bring about the end of life on Earth as we know it.
Bum 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 bum.
If you guys enjoy that story, moving on. No. So we read Volume 1, which
It's about
covers-
140 pages.
Yes, it covers issues 1 through 6. And basically, that's a breakdown there. Kyle Barnes is kind of this, the title fits him, an outcast. He's a recluse living by himself who is plagued with this ability to be able to kind of, in a different way, exorcise demons from people. He doesn't require a cross, he doesn't require the church. It's simply by a press of his hand and his blood where he's able to
Inflict harm onto.
inflict harm on said demons that are possessing. And he has a friend who's a reverend who is who is performing exorcisms and trying to check up on him, see if he's okay, has him help him when his exorcisms don't work. And from there, it's this slow burn that focuses a lot on our characters and what they've gone through. The key word in this is that everyone in this comic has gone through trauma of some sort. There is a trauma that has played a big impact on them. Kyle himself had to deal with what he thought was an abusive mother. When he later does find out that, hey, she wasn't abusive, she was possessed. And he found out the hard way by fighting his mother. And that's how he learned that she was possessed. And he's dealing with this cloud over him that people believed that he beat his daughter, which he didn't. Broke up with his loved one, his significant other. He has a sister who checks in on him, whose husband doesn't like him because of the history. We have this reverend who's kind of questioning his faith. Like, he doesn't think God's here anymore, or God's not
But
listening.
he's
God's
also
doing
like
other things.
borderline alcoholic, gambly. But
Gambling.
like
Yep.
the cool thing I really liked about this book was like there's so many, and it's really kind of I don't know. It's like it works and then it works for it and it works against it. Where in volume 1, you typically should get like a whole arc. You should get this whole like, cool, that what leads you to the rest of the book. But again, this is Image, this is Robert Kirkman. You know that it's much more serialized. So if anything, it just feels like a very long pilot.
Yes.
And that being said, like, it plays so much like a Murder She Wrote, where like you have this town and everyone has a past. Like every character has this fully realized backstory, which is really great. It feels rich, and even though like the world isn't super fleshed out because it's like a small town, you navigate through the perspectives of these characters amongst each other. And I think the thing I really enjoyed was that you don't even get everything. So like we don't know really the full picture of what happened between Kyle and his mother. Like we see glimpses and we kind of infer it, but they don't like there's only one bit of like really bad expositional dialogue, and it's at the very beginning of like, hey, how's it going, brother? No brother and sister talk like that. But after that,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I have to infer exact like what this relationship is, and you it's hard to understand it
Yeah.
unless you're a really kind of emotionally intelligent. And with the Reverend, you're like, is he actually like losing his faith and gambling his money away, or is he doing that so he can support the church because the money's not there? And then
Mm-hmm.
he makes the comment of, and he provides, and it's like that kind of stuff. Where it's like, oh, this is really cool. And so like I don't, at the end of the volume, I didn't understand exactly what happened with Donnie and Megan, but I know that there's bad blood between him and Kyle. Like they talk about it, but it's like I don't get to explicitly see it. All I get to know is like, all right, these two guys who hate each other hate this guy even more, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Get the reference to it. And we are left with, we end up meeting this detective whose partner, he believes his partner is possessed because of how he's completely changed. He's locked up. And so they try to perform this exorcism on him in prison, which is where Kyle starts to realize how his touch is causing pain to these demons that are inside. And he eventually confronts that moment with his mother. He has this flashback at the end of his at his place, where he's now not afraid. He's not afraid of this room anymore, and it's a step forward in him conquering this ability he has and moving forward with it, which is where we leave off in this volume. So, of course, I was going to pick a story that involved possession because hey, it's spooky season. It's a different take on the whole possession thing. It's showing it's showing the typical Christian sort of exorcisms and how it isn't actually working right now, and how this unknown method is actually doing more than before. And it kind of reminded me of the second season of The Exorcist, because you have the two priests, and the younger priest actually has this new method that the older one is not a fan of, where he's basically inviting the demon inside him to figure out why the demon is possessing these people.
Mm.
And that was the angle that one of the angles they took in the second season, which of course the veteran exorcist is not a fan of, because you let the demon in, demon can take over.
Yeah, it's using the
And
dark side.
exactly. But it's very intriguing the way he demands him to come into him. His eyes roll back, and it shows him fighting the demon from in there. So it had that same vibe to me in this, how Kyle here uses his ability. Um,
I mean, I kind of felt like this was almost like, hey, let's do an like a modern update of like a comic book version of the Exorcist film.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Where you have the younger person who helps perform the exorcism completely out of faith, right? Just like does not believe in the church anymore, and then you have its name Father Mariam, some
and the exorcist, yeah,
yeah,
Miriam, yeah.
and you have the old guy
Or Miriam.
who's like, I'm the ballerest exorcist dude in the world, but he's old, so he's not like super,
Not in his prime anymore.
not as prime anymore, so he can't handle the beatings that it takes to the physical exertion of exorcisms. And this one, the older, character has been doing exorcisms and been doing it for such a long time. Like all these people in this town has been suffering exorcisms, and I think there's something that talks about trauma where it follows Kyle and how like he always feels like it's the same. It's you're this evil that follows me around, and that's how it feels like, even though it presents itself in a different face, it feels familiar.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like it was a really cool thing where they kind of asked the questions like, well, what if the younger person who actually is the only one able to do these exorcisms wasn't part of the church and had lost the battles to save their loved ones from these exorcisms? And then what if the older guy, who is the most experienced exorcist guy, actually never truly performed one and just thinks he did? And because you get a little bit of that inclination with Mildred, this older woman who the father helps out, and when Kyle like helps her because she like stumbles in her own house, she's like, "Don't touch me!"
Mm-hmm.
And he realized again that, oh, it's my touch, and so if people are affected by my touch, kind of like it got a little like dead zoney, where it's like, okay, all I gotta
Yeah.
do is do one touch, and then it's like, okay, now you're like a demon detector, where if you just do one touch, you can tell, and that's the cool thing, where like even the father, like sees this prisoner and like, oh, this person's disturbed. They're not possessed. And but even then the prisoner says, I know you, don't I? And then it's like, oh,
Mhm.
this is the same evil. And then we have this man in black, very much like in Westworld, Ed
Mhm.
Harris's character, who's just like, who is this guy? What is he up to? We don't know. Cloak and dagger. We don't know what's going on. Smoke and mirrors.
Mhm.
Um, and that's in volume 1, and you're just like, wow, that's the kind of cliffhanger stuff I would have gotten from issue 1. But instead, they
Yeah.
put it at the end of volume 1, which is interesting because I remember was when Steve's put this as the assignment. I was like, oh my god, this is such a fucking long book. And I was going through the book, and I was like, all right, let's go. And I was reading on Kindle, which is a wonderful way to read books, especially if you want to read big ones and then collect single issues.
Mhm.
Still supporting your local bookstore. But yeah, it was just like, oh, this is blasting by very fast. So it was very enjoyable though.
Yeah, it definitely has, although in color this time. The art, of course, reminds me of Walking Dead. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same Walking Dead style of art, but just with the color itself. Very gritty feel to it, just from the art itself, from Mr. Azaketa. I hope I'm saying his name right. I favorite moments, Tom. Favorite moments.
Favorite moments. I would have to say I liked it when Kyle kind of embraces the violent nature of the exorcism, where is it Joshua who has to get exorcised,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
he's like, you know what, screw it, my mom hated light, and he opens up the windows, and then the demon inside of Kyle's like, no, please, God. Or inside of Josh, like, oh God,
Joshua.
please. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and he's just kind of like, no, I'm not. I'm done being nice. And he's like, I've been, in reference at the time aging this podcast. At the end in Halloween Ends, there's a character that's also kind of victimized by the town, and Kyle at this
Hmm.
point doesn't necessarily turn it to a negative thing. He turns it into like a positive thing, but it still has, um, I guess negative tendencies, which is to be violent, and but it
Hmm.
works, and it's kind of also like this turning point where it's kind of like exorcisms, if you want them done, that you can't really expect it to be just like, oh, the Lord will help us, and the Father ends up saying it's like, oh, Lord is on our side, but he ends up also saying later on it's like the Lord failed us, and
Hmm.
I think that's really cool where. Again, I love the hesitant, the reluctant hero, the one who doesn't believe is the only one that can do it, and the story of them having to believe. Um, Another favorite part I would say is, I really liked the gambling part
Yeah.
where he was saying is like, he was like, God doesn't care if you look at your neighbor's wife, or if you masturbate, or if you do all this
Hmm.
stuff. It's like he's waging a cosmic war against hell and demons and stuff like that. It's like
Yep.
he doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff. And
It's
I was
to
like,
interrupt you.
and then he's like, "Are you good?" It's like, "I'm just drunk." All right, I fold. Yourself?
No, I like that scene too. I like that scene too. I really enjoyed when this man in black visits Kyle's mom, who
Mm.
is not comatose, but she's awake. She's not moving. She hasn't done so ever since
She's
Kyle drove
unresponsive.
unresponsive. Ever since Kyle drove the demon out of her, she's been that way. And it's this one huge panel. Uh, how this man in black, who I think we get the name is Sydney, he eventually says, and despite all your efforts, we have him anyway, if we're trying to protect him.
Uh huh.
And this focus here, you see the faraway shot, he's
Mm-hmm.
walking away, and then it zooms in
Right.
on the
Right.
tear.
Mm-hmm.
So she's aware of
She's aware.
everything going on around her. She knows what's going on. And that's the first sign of emotion you see of her. That's like shit. So all the time Kyle has visited her, she's heard everything he said, and we get the emotion. We realize that this guy's going to go after Kyle, and tough because Kyle has this complicated relationship with his mom because he always felt that she was abusive toward him and beating him, not knowing that she was possessed, and that's what made the beatings happen. And so he has this anger toward her, and he realizes earlier on that my anger wasn't you; it's what was in you. And
Which
so
has a
it's
lot of literary subtext too, which is like,
mm-hmm.
the easy way out. It's like, yes, of course, it's demon, but then when you take that away, what are we really talking about, right?
Mhm, mhm. So I really like the way that was drawn out, the spacing there and the focus on her eye. I loved that part of it. That was my favorite slide panel in in that story. But yeah, uh, I always had said I was going to buy Volume 2, and then life happened. So now that I've read it again, I do want to progress forward and see where this takes me. I know that there was a series adapted of this comic made for Cinemax. It got 2 seasons. So if you ever want to check this comic out, you have the comic you can get yourself.
does
Whether
it
you
have
get
does it have any stars in there? Who's attached to this
let
project?
me bring up the cast here. We've got
Because I have to imagine it's like comic book stuff. IP is like
okay.
hot.
Here's the one you'll know. The Man in Black, referred to as Sydney, is Brent Spiner, known
Oh
as
wow, Data,
Data from Star
and
Trek. Yeah.
also, kill all whatever, eat you all
Independence
bastards.
Day. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, there is David Denman, who we know as Pam's ex-fiance from The Office.
Oh, who's the
He
dad in
plays
Brightburn?
yes, he plays Mark Holter. Let me see here. Those are two that stick out to me. MC Gainey, who was in Dukes of Hazzard, the Stifler and Johnny Knoxville one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Hoon Lee is in it. Who is in Warrior.
Oh,
Um, he's also been in. Hang on, he was in DMZ with
Rosario
Rosario
Dawson
Dawson,
and Benjamin Bratt.
Benjamin Bratt. He was in Iron Fist as Lei Kung.
Oh.
He was also Master Splinter in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series that is from Nickelodeon, now on Hulu. I
Oh.
like Hoonley. Hoonley was badass in Warrior, so I was happy to see that he's on this cast here. Of course, these are characters that probably go further into like volumes 2 and 3, so I'm not sure who they play. But let me see if I can continue. Where'd you go? There we go. Hoonley.
I'm
I
here.
think no. Sorry, I'm at the IMDb list. But main character Kyle Barnes is played by Patrick Fugit. I'm not cussing. Fugit is his last name. He is from. Oh shit! It's the kid from Almost Famous.
Whoa.
The main character from
Whoa.
Almost Famous. He is, and he's in
Whoa.
Gone Girl. He's Officer James Gilpin,
Wow.
the male cop. Yeah. So he is Kyle Barnes, and Reverend John Anderson is played by Philip Glenister, who is known for such roles as Squire in Kingdom of Heaven. He was Gene Hunt on Life on Mars, and that's probably the most we're going to know of him. He was in Calendar Girls in 2003. But yeah, all
Oh.
I've seen here is Kingdom of Heaven. He was the Squire there, but yeah, he's Reverend John Anderson in here. So I did not recognize that Kyle Barnes was the Almost Famous kid until I clicked on it. That's
Huh.
funny.
Huh.
But yeah,
Interesting.
there you go.
All right.
There's your cast there. It is a Cinemax series, so if you have access to Cinemax, you can watch the first 2 seasons of Outcast, which looks like I'm looking at some of the images that totally do follow like some panels here. I'm seeing Kyle sitting in the car with the Reverend. That looks the same positioning as the panel itself. I would say we would recommend you read the comic first, but
Yeah.
that's just our Capeless Crusaders thing. But yeah, the comic is available where comics are sold, or of course there's Comixology. It is a Image comic, so if you have anything through Image, that's who's behind it. And the series is on Cinemax. They got 2 seasons out of it, so that is Outcast. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was saying there's 2 seasons.
2 seasons. 2 seasons. Sorry, the other angle. I just see one figure when you do
2 seasons.
2 seasons. That concludes the comic portion of our 2 features tonight. We now move on to the filmic realm, the cinema, the film, the movies,
The Skinamax.
the Skinemax. Yeah, there's some skin in this movie. There is some skin in this one. We are talking about the 2007 feature film Trick or Treat, which was written and directed by Michael Dougherty, as I said earlier, one of the writing minds behind X2, X-Men United,
X gonna give it to
and
you.
Superman. What?
X gonna give it to you. Every time X2, X gonna give it to
X2, X gonna give it to you, X-Men United,
you.
and Superman Returns. To make it known, oh my God, his name just blanked on me. Bryan Singer. Bryan Singer is the producer of this film. Michael Dougherty, Dan Harris, and Bryan Singer were kind of the trio that gave us X2 and Superman Returns. They were kind of partners working together at the time. I don't know where the relationship is now, given Bryan Singer's history, or whatever has been going on lately with him. I've kind of fell off after I first heard 2 years ago. Um, I think I stopped paying attention to Bryan Singer after Days of Future Past because I liked Days of Future Past and I left him there. That's where I left him, and I didn't want to go back to him. um, but I know it's not good things. I know it's not good things. But hey, Harvey Weinstein was a horrible fucking human being and still is, but his name is behind some of the greatest films in production. So I have to watch the movies his names are attached to, sadly.
You don't
Even
have to.
what? But Lord of the
The
Rings,
the
man. I'm
way
not gonna watch
I
Lord of the
think
Rings.
I think who says it is I think Judi Dench said it, where it was like
Dame Judi Dench.
Dame Judi Dench was like, "Hey, look, terrible people are responsible for some of the greatest things art in the art world."
It's true.
Um, it's kind of like Kevin Spacey, where it's like
I
we
know.
can't just forget what he did for theater,
I know.
even though he's a piece of shit. And that goes for Bryan Singer. But even then, I'll say Bryan Singer doesn't know how to direct more than one actor at a time, because in X-Men, I don't know why Mystique and Sabretooth don't have lines, and Toad literally has one line. It's like the Brotherhood is just it's Magneto, and here's his fucking bullies.
Yeah, it's chilling. It's chilling.
And it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah, you can enjoy the art that was created and still think they're pieces of shit today,
Yeah.
especially someone like me who was gifted Kevin Spacey's acting masterclass,
Mhm.
and a month later is when everything fucking happened. So I'm like, great. Like the chorus is nowhere on masterclass right now, but I can still see it because it's my free gift. Have I watched it since then? I have not watched it. I moved on to Sam Jackson's acting class and Natalie Portman's acting class, but I was halfway through it, and god damn it, it was a good class. But now I can't watch it without fucking. Anyway, I can still watch his old movies. L.A. Confidential is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Dude,
I'm always gonna watch that
Negotiator.
movie. Negotiator
Negotiator. So
was one of
good.
my. Come on, I wonder why that is. But yeah. So Bryan Singer, of course, is producer of Trick or Treat, a movie that was shelved in 2007. Warner Brothers is going to release it that year, but they met two obstacles they felt they couldn't conquer. One was the release of Saw, which I believe 2007, that would have been Saw 3 or 4, and they
3.
did not, probably 3,
Uh-huh.
and they did not see this movie doing well against Saw 3. Uh, I don't know. I mean, right? That it was like every Halloween, Saw was a tradition.
The
It was like every
the
year you knew Saw was
the,
out
the,
and Saw was on the kill.
I mean, I can only compare my own experiences, right? So at that time, I was in high school, and I was like the kid that would sneak in to watch the movie, or like
Mhm.
I would try to like beg my friends who worked at the movie theater to like, dude, just fucking give me the ticket. You know, it's like it's rated R. We're all going to watch it. Come on, man.
Mhm.
And we made a tradition to watch Saw every year. But we
It
were
was a big thing.
but we were kids. We would watch everything. So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, Saw today, and then Trick or Treat tomorrow. You know,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's a weird thing, and I understand it, but you know,
Warner Brothers got worried because Saw became a goddamn tradition for Halloween. It
Mhm.
became where you knew Saw was coming out the weekend before Halloween.
well, for a while it
And
was like July 20th. Like that's the Nolan time. Don't release a movie that
yeah,
time. Only
exactly.
Nolan has a movie July 20th.
Yeah, no one does anything in July. No, it's Nolan month, and October was Saw month for the longest time. So they got worried there, and there was also lingering over them was the fact that Superman Returns, which came out the year before, was a box office disappointment. Yes, we are in a world where when you make 200 million, you can be a disappointment. It depends on the movie, how much it costs, how much you were expecting. It was a disappointment. It's not what they were expecting, and so they decided to shelve Trick or Treat without without a given date for release. And it wasn't until I think October of 2008 or 2009 where Warner Brothers finally released Trick or Treat onto DVD and Blu-ray. And that's where the movie found its cult following because it became a massive hit on
Because
DVD and Blu-ray.
it was and that's the thing. Like I think horror as a genre was looking for their new icon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they had Jigsaw, but like
Mm-hmm.
Jigsaw's an old man, and
Mm-hmm.
then like the little robot animatronic is a robot animatronic, and
Mm-hmm.
then the pig man isn't even Jigsaw. So it was like,
It was her.
at least Michael Myers, you're like, that's him. There's
That's
no,
Michael.
and Jason,
That's
you're like,
Freddy.
the second one maybe, but the first one there
Yeah,
is no Jason. And then
there's
Freddy's
no
like,
Jason.
that's Freddy. And it's like Chucky, that's Chucky doing the kills. Like, so who does the kills in Jigsaw? No one. But it was a bunch of body horror and all that stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
there is no
Torture
icon
porn.
for Hostel. There is no icon for Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
But there could have been an icon with Trick or Treat, and it's that
Which
little pumpkin boy.
Little Sam. Little Sam.
Is that his
Which
name?
his name is Sam.
Wow.
Because it's because again the writing of Sam Hain, even though they do point out that it's not Sam Hain,
Samhain.
it's Samhain. They
Because
make that clear in this
Rhonda.
movie.
I was gonna say that's
Uh,
that's that's a Steve's favorite character.
oh yes, then that's one of the reasons I like this movie so much because it's so much Halloween history in it. Like every little thing is an actual element of Samhain or All Hallows Eve or Halloween. They actually they give it up to Michael Dougherty and Dan Harris. They did their Halloween research and put it right into this movie. Now I'll give you a quick synopsis that IMDb provides us for Trick or Treat. For those of you who haven't seen it, again, I know it's a big cult following now behind it. Five interwoven stories that occur on Halloween. An everyday high school principal has a secret life as a serial killer. A college virgin might have just met the guy for her. A group of teenagers pull a mean prank. A woman who loathes the night has to contend with her holiday obsessed husband. And a mean old man meets his match with a demonic, supernatural trick or treater. That is your synopsis. So you got five interwoven stories on the
Four
same
features of Fright.
four
Five
features of Fright,
stories.
five
Two
stories
hosts.
on
Four
one evening.
four balls per
Four
guy.
balls, poor guy. Six pairs of eyes if you count Steve's glasses. Um, so all this happens on this one Halloween night, and your cast, by the way, is quite a lineup.
It's
You
huge.
you got Anna Paquin, you got Brian Cox, Dylan
Cox.
Baker,
Just
Brian Cox, Dylan Baker, Lauren Lee Smith, Leslie Bibb,
Leslie
who
Bibb,
is
who's
Sam Rockwell's wife,
smashes Tony Stark in the first 10
smashes
minutes.
Tony Stark, and then marries Justin Hammer in real life.
And then also
Uh,
gives Doctor Doom all the head and nip tuck.
They,
Hey man,
Fact.
I watch
these are
things.
facts. He's spitting facts.
Mhm.
Spitting. Anyway, so there's
It's for
your
quitters.
cast. Uh, hashtag. Um, this movie is one of my favorites to watch during the holiday season. Well, I guess Halloween's part of the holidays. Fuck it, part of the Halloween spooky season. It is a perfect blend of funny tongue-in-cheek humor and horror. And like Tom said, it creates this new character tied to the season called Sam. You'll see him in the poster when you look up the movie. This little kid in this gunny sack of a mask with a bag and a lollipop that is way more dangerous than you think it is.
And when he drags that bag, definitely like a dead cat's in there.
There's a dead cat in there. And I love the fact that he has the sack because it could be a sack of candy because he's trick or treating. It could be a darker play on Santa Claus. He has his own sack that he carries with him, which is funny. Trivia: the kid who was trying to get a peek of Anna Paquin and her friends changing clothes, that actor is Sam.
Oh wow, that's cool. I like
So
that.
he plays that kid there, and then he plays Sam the rest of the movie. And there was actually a child stunt double, which just another kid who didn't act, and a woman who were the stunt doubles of Sam during his scenes with Mr. Craig played by Brian Cox.
Mm.
So first things first, the first story you see is why you never, it's very clear, why you never take down your Halloween decorations the night of Halloween, and why you don't blow out your jack-o'-lantern until November 1st, because Sam's gonna be watching you. Uh, Sam's watching your every move. Um, of these stories, it's hard for me to choose a favorite because I liked them all so much. I liked each character that was in there. Dylan Baker's principal turned serial
so
killer
good, so good.
is phenomenal. He's so good at being friendly evil.
He is
That's the best way I could describe him. Friendly evil.
he's the upside down Flanders. So good.
Yes, yes, yes. Every move, every line he spits, every look, he's just and I guess according to what I read in trivia, they wrote the character with him in mind. So he
Oh,
was always who they envisioned playing Steven,
it's
Mr.
it's it's
Wilkins.
it's Doc
So
Connors from Spider-Man 2.
yes, Doc Cutter. Hold on, I'm trying to. Yeah, that's how you pull this move off. You do this. You do this, or you now the thing that I now catch when I watch Terminator 2 is Arnold had his arm into his pants like this, and this is all fake over here.
And he's
Now when
like,
I
I need
watch it,
I
I can
need a
see Arnold's
vacation.
like, yeah, you're not that thick down there, Arnold. You still had abs in this movie going. That's your arm right there. I see it.
Ah.
um, so yeah, so much trivia that I read on this that I enjoyed. Is there a story you preferred of the five interwoven stories, Tom?
I Overall, I like the idea of Sam. I like the idea of
Mm-hmm.
this is a
Mm-hmm.
Krampus punishes bad kids, but in Sam, I like that there is an entity that makes sure that you're in the Samhain spirit, you're in the Halloween spirit, and you're honoring it in the positive
Mm-hmm.
way, and that is to give candy to kids, keep your lanterns open, don't smash things, don't steal candy, and there's a boogeyman that punishes bad spirited people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I also really like the Anna Paquin story a lot. I think that is
Mm-hmm.
such a nice. I like reversals. I like subversions of like, oh, little virgin girl gonna go, and then she's gonna be a final girl for this killery boy thing that's killing
Mm-hmm.
people, and it's like, oh no. Like I realize like sometimes the budget comes through during her climactic sequences and all that, but like the idea of how that transformation works out is so gory and wretched and violent, and it's just like, ugh. But like to
Mm-hmm.
me, I was watching a little bit at work and all that stuff, and I was just like, this is a little sexy,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I'm always gonna be as Ethan Who says it, horny on Maine. And I was here for it. I was here for all of it. And I was just
Of
like,
course.
and I was to me, it was just a little bit like, is this exploitative? Do we need to have these titties in this like dressing room thing? And this little boy's like, and I'm like, man, I'd want this shit. And
Boys did that. Boys do that.
yeah, and but then also it's kind of like saying like, and again, it subverts. It all sets up to be like there are these horny school girls who are going to get murdered in the woods, and then
Mm-hmm.
when you find the climax of the story, it's like, oh, we're not that story,
Oh no, we're
and
not.
I really enjoy that, and it's kind of in that same vein of like. Jennifer's body, and I
Mm-hmm.
like that a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Where again, it is the punishment of bad people. It is, you know, Black Adam, Punisher, where it's like we do kill, and bad people will be punished, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not people who are wronged by the justice system. It's people who choose to kill people for the fun of it. And I mean, really, what's his name? Principal Williams.
Yes, yeah, Principal Wilkins. Wilkins.
Wilkins. He's probably my favorite.
Oh yeah. Oh
Like
yeah.
I was like, it's gonna be really hard to beat him as like he's a favorite character because like
Mm-hmm.
he's a piece of shit, but like man,
His delivery.
he's so good. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
can we do something fun? I wish mom was alive. And I was like, oh my god. And it's like I just think of like there was like, how are we gonna write this character? What if like there's a piece of shit dad and like he's just terrible, and it's like, and he was actually the school principal and he kills kids, and it's like that's cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like I think it is like the extended version, not even Flanders at this point, but extended version of Principal Skinner from
Mm-hmm.
Simpsons. It's like, oh, look at this tight ass, and it's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, he's a piece of shit. Like, but
Yep.
like when everything happens, like check your candy. I was like, what did he do to that candy? I was expecting like blades to come out, but like no, like what's in here?
Mm-hmm.
Did they show that? Did they explain what was in the candy?
Mm-mm. They never
Yeah,
said what was in there.
it's probably rat poison or something. It has
Probably.
to. It has to be.
Fun side notes here. First off, Anna Paquin's character, her name is Laurie. That was
Strode.
purposely done as a shout out to Laurie Strode. Um, Brian Cox, his look on his character, Mr. Craig, he was meant to look like an aging John Carpenter. That's
Mm.
perfectly done there too. And a little fun fact that probably only Tom and I are going to know here, unless someone ever watched this from our Arden days. Uh, friend of ours and a friend that I still communicate with today, Rosie, is well aware that I have said many times that Anna Paquin reminds me of her. And so I've told her, listen, Anna gets naked in a lot of things she does. I hope you're not weirded out by that. And Rosie's all, I'm aware. I know it's fine. So Anna Paquin looks like Rosie, and it's a fact. So there's that. Thought I'd throw a little fun out there in case you ever watched this episode, Rosie. Uh,
Hey.
True Blood. This I'm just saying.
She doesn't get. We don't see anything, do we?
Isn't it? No,
At
we
the
don't see
very-
her.
Yeah,
No, we see her friends. We
yeah,
see like
we just we
Danielle
yeah,
and
yeah.
Maria.
We
Yeah.
we just see like bras and stuff, which
Yeah.
I'm saying we don't
You
need
see her
to see it all,
seductive.
but
You see her
it's-
seductive.
yeah, in very promiscuous positions.
But in True Blood, Anna didn't give a shit.
It's
That's all.
But that was what was it? Was that Showtime?
That's HBO.
That's HBO.
Yeah,
that
it's HBO.
baby.
True Blood was that show that said rated TVMA 4, and there was 5 things listed, and that's how you know a show's
Because it was
great.
like this. It was like Twilight for the tweens, and then CW's like
Oh.
for the people who want to have sex all the time, and HBO Max is like, this is gonna make you want to go to therapy, baby.
We fuck here. This is HBO. We fuck. we are.
Okay, so streaming's streaming.
Should I leave it and come back to see if we're up?
Sure. I mean, I'm gonna restart my monitor. Are we on?
Oh,
Are we live?
It doesn't even show us when I go to. It tells me that Curtis is streaming right now. There we are. Nerd on.
Hey, Curtis. Calm down, Romeo man.
Skipintosh now on Twitch.
Skipping Tosh. What happened?
Okay, I see an ad. I got an ad going. 20 seconds. All right, hang on. Something about laundry, and it's an LG wash tower. That's what it is. Okay, probably expensive as shit. Yeah.
The people
Looks-
who
looks
watch the
cool.
VOD are gonna love this. As we're just
Looks
like, is it
cool.
good? Is it live?
Is it live? Are we
Oh, I'm
there?
gonna have to like download both videos and edit them together.
Ads over, and I think we're back on.
All right.
Yes. Okay.
So
Hey guys.
Anna Paquin, be clapping them cheeks. Rosie, take no offense. We love everybody.
Rosie.
Sex
Love you, Rosie.
positive.
Sex positive.
Fans
Anna
fans
Paquin.
of friends.
Fans of Friends. I enjoyed the Rhonda story where she's explaining the history of Samhain and how we get the introduction of another story later with the bus driver who drove kids
Mhm.
off the
It-
cliff.
Yeah,
Glenn.
it's a backstory, but also it's a
Mhm.
continuation and lead up to a climactic end.
More trivia. They hired actual amputated young actors and children for those characters on that
Oh.
bus for when they come when they arrive when they show up later. Which then leads into Brian Cox's character, Mr. Craig, who is the bus driver. We find out eventually. Again, sorry, this movie's been out for
Spoilers.
25-year-old movie.
Is it really
Jesus.
25-year-old?
No, I'm sorry, 15.
Oh my
Woo!
god! I was like, whoa.
15-year movie. It's the same length of time that The Rock has been given the role of Black Adam. 15 years for this movie. So spoilers. Mr. Craig, Brian Cox's character, is the bus driver who is a total prick on Halloween night and isn't decorated, isn't giving out candy.
He is humbug.
And that's how they describe it in the trivia. He is the humbug of this story. He is Scrooge of Halloween, and he is paid a visit by our lovely little being named Sam, who I need to get a pop of. I don't know why I've never gotten a pop of Sam. It's time to get Sam. And
Sam!
it's quite a fight scene. It's quite a fight. I do love that you hear a kid voice as Sam is fighting him. You hear this kid giggling or making kid sounds. It kind of it makes you laugh while kind of being creeped out.
Well, the entire film, all the events are happening. Sam is always there, and this little
Watching
this
everything.
little toddler, again, size of Chucky. You could just punt
hmm
him to next season.
Doing
Um,
his own version of Michael Myers, where he's just standing by a tree watching you.
but he's also doing like this little version of Ben Shapiro.
Big Sam.
Yeah. And it's and so it's like he's always there, and it's like the spirit of Halloween, and it's like to me, it's like it is so much like that. Like imagine if Jack Skellington, the Pumpkin King, like was in real life, and like it's like was like always making sure like
You honor Halloween. You do
yeah.
the traditions correctly, or
Ah.
else. And it's cool. There's your another X-Men connection with Brian Cox and Anna Paquin. By the way, being in this film.
Mm.
Friends. Um, I also like when you go back and watch, you pay attention to every story because the characters of the other stories pop up in the story you're watching. When you first see, I believe it's the Anna Paquin story or the kids, they're walking down the street and they pass Leslie Bibb and her husband in their costumes, the first people you see in
Mm-hmm.
this movie. They pass by each other. You see, at one point in the beginning for their story across the street, you see the kids in the school bus knocking on Mr. Craig's door,
Mm-hmm.
about to pay him a visit. So you got to pay attention to some of the background happening in this movie because you'll see the other characters to showing you how all these stories are happening on the same Halloween night around the same time. And I really like the way they did that. And from what I read, it was a bitch to edit, according to Michael
Oh,
Doherty, of making sure
sounds like
all
yeah.
that was fitting
Like the
correctly.
whole thing with
Uh,
the principal, and it's like help me, and then it's like, and then you
yeah,
see it, and you're like, oh my god.
right, exactly. Uh, and again, it also reminds you at the end of the beginning of you don't blow out your pumpkin, your jack o' lantern, before Halloween is over because Sam's watching you and you're disrespecting because and it's funny because in the Samhain tradition, the jack-o'-lanterns are meant to guide the spirits back to the realm they came from. So,
Mm.
on a Halloween Samhain, it's when it's believed that that is when the barrier between our world and the other world is at its thinnest, and beings from the other world, good or bad, can walk our world. And so the Celtics dressed up in monster costumes, so the spirits would just think that they're other spirits and not humans and pass by them. And the jack-o'-lanterns were the turnips lit with faces to guide them back to the outer realm. That's where the jack-o'-lantern comes from. And so Sam seeing the blowing out of the jack-o'-lantern, it's like you're disrespecting the dead because you're not giving them the way home. And Sam doesn't like that. So Sam says, "Fuck you, Leslie Bibb and Justin Hammer.
You need
I'm
to
gonna
blow
kill
out
you."
one jack o' lantern, smash one pumpkin. He come for you.
He comes
Candyman
for you.
Candyman
Don't
gives
do
you
it.
4 strikes.
Yeah, exactly. Sam won.
Sam's like, nope. It's like
Nope. That's
no one gets one.
nope. One too many. One too many. So
He said,
that's
this is how much you're gonna find out if you fucked around this much.
so it's that attention to detail of the holiday. Like we've seen the Halloween movies where they make up something regarding the Halloween heritage, or they get something wrong, like Halloween 2. The Carpenter will admit John Carpenter wrote that script drunk off his ass just because he was getting paid to do the sequel, and he literally writes Sam Hain, and Dr. Loomis says Sam Hain, and I watch it now. I'm like, it's Selwyn, and then they base it off this belief of a dark lord that took place during Halloween that never happened. That was a bishop who witnessed Celtic tribes during Samhain and assumed it was for a dark god, which never existed. It was something created by Christians, which was never there. But of course, it's been done wrong in so many movies because that's what we're told without research. And that's what I appreciate with Trick or Treat, where it's like, no, this is what it means. This is Samhain. This is why there's jack o' lanterns. This is why we dress up. Great attention to detail by the by Mr. Doherty that I really appreciate, and because it is now one of my Halloween traditions, along with Carpenter's work, I have to throw it in there. So yeah, I forget how much I really like this movie until I watch it again. I'm like, oh yeah,
Same.
this is
I,
this is a
I
Halloween vibe.
I when you put this on the list, I was kind of like, I remember watching this and kind of being like not plussed about it, and then I was just like, oh, this is actually really fun. And you know what? This is like comparison is a thief of joy, but like I would watch this over, and this is a hot take. This is the hottest take I'm probably going to give about Halloween
Oh shit.
movies and itself. I would watch this over Cabin in the Woods every day of the week.
Oh yeah.
I
Okay.
think
No. I,
Cabin in
yeah.
the Woods continually says like, "Look how smart we are. We're playing with the horror genre. See what we're
Mm-hmm.
doing." And it's like, shut
Mm-hmm.
the fuck up. We got it. Like we got it the first time you subverted it. Now you continue to
Yeah.
subvert it, and then you're saying, "Look, we're doing it even more." And then everyone, every time I say this, everyone's like, "Well, it's just fun." Then I'm like, "Cool. It's just
Trick or treat's fun.
it's just a movie too." So
Yeah.
it's like me not liking it or you liking it doesn't change anything versus how I feel about it versus how you feel about it. But to me, I think
Hmm.
I like Trick or Treat more because it's like I'm playing within the genre, even though I'm kind of talking about like more about like let's actually understand what Halloween is. Where like Cabin in the Woods is kind of like let's just imagine like all of this was constructed by these people, which at the end of the day, horror genre and movie making, they're making commentary on that stuff, but it's just like, oh yeah, and then you're just gonna third act have everything just be a CGI fest. And where here is very much just like, oh, this culmination of like all this is happening at the same time. You don't really know the events like, and I really like the bookends of the earlier and meanwhile and the later like a comic book strip, and I was like very like a storybook. I was like, this
Hmm.
is like this haunted fantasy of a current telling of
Hmm.
of this night.
I had to double take because I was like, with the opening credits and that, I'm like, was this based on a comic series? It's not. It's a completely really original idea from Michael Dougherty. The only thing that existed before was a short film he did where he introduced the Sam character, which I have
Oh,
not seen. So I don't know much about that. But there's no comic, there's no adaptation. It's straight from Michael Dougherty's head. He just wanted to have that comic feel to it with the beginning and the little bookmarks throughout it. So I was like, very nice, very,
very good.
minimal shout out to their history and writing, but it's its own original thing. So now I got to find that. I think it was called Season's Greetings is a short film
Mm.
where Sam makes his debut. Little
Okay,
Sam pops
okay.
up. So I'm gonna find that one. Maybe we'll watch it next year for
Or just
Halloween.
put it on the Discord, baby.
Discord, watch it
Put it on
there.
the Discord.
Yeah, that's what we do. But yeah, it's strongly approve Trick or Treat if you haven't seen it. It's worth your Halloween marathon. It is a well put together story. As someone who's become a horror nut job, this one is on my list of things I will tell you. It reminded me of how I felt when I saw Scream, because Scream is what got me into horror movies. Because Scream found a way to poke fun at horror movies while also telling its own horror story. They poked fun and gave you something scary at the same time. And Trick or Treat does that. It doesn't poke fun, it gives you a different way of telling the Halloween story with some lighthearted, with some comedy, with some tongue in cheek, and with some fucking freaky ass moments too. So add it to your list. It's worth your watch. If you are a streamer, which I think we all are now, it is available on Shutter
Oh, if you watch
and AM
streams.
if you watch streams, if you do the streamings, it's on Shutter and AMC Plus, so you can watch it there. You have
And
those
it's
through, like
available
say,
on Amazon Prime.
and available on Amazon Prime. Yes, so you can watch it there. You got 4 days. It's actually going to go away after Halloween, so I don't know where it's going after that. So if you haven't seen it, and you got Amazon Prime, you've got 4 days to watch it before Trick or Treat goes away, goes somewhere else, takes a break until next Halloween. Who knows? Or just buy it somewhere. You can do that too. Just buy it. It's worth a purchase. It is. Anyway, hey, we did it.
Look at us.
That concludes. Look at us. Who'd have thought? Not me.
With that.
Um, we concluded. We've done it. 4 features of Fright in 2022. We've had some fun. We had John Constantine or Constantine,
Ray Shal Ghul.
um, Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul. We had his Hellblazer. Oh my God, what
It's
is that?
a Hell
Thorn.
Sport jacket too.
Yeah, Hell Sports Jacket. We went to hell through space with Event Horizon and scared the shit out of Amy.
Hmm.
We had our trick or treat and Outcast. So I think that's a successful.
Oh God.
we yeah, they still haven't made a gif of that. I still got to work on that. We a successful 4 features of Fright. It's been haunting. It's been fun. Next week, this coming Monday is Halloween. So we here at the Capeless Crusaders and Nerd On are wishing you a fun, safe, and always spooky Samhain, All Hallows Eve, Halloween, whichever one you celebrate, whichever version of the holiday you celebrate. Those of you who also celebrate, because we do in this household, Day of the Dead. So celebrate those in the first and the second. Have a happy Day of the Dead. Dia de Muertos. Dia de los is actually an Americanized thing. The los shouldn't be there. It's not proper Spanish. Dia de Muertos. The more you know. Um,
It's like
there's
me
that for
saying
you
"Mi
there.
amo Ace Tom." You just say "Mi
Yeah, it's
amo
like saying you
Tom."
want to. Yeah, exactly. Or you want a chai latte. It's the same thing. It's milk and tea. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Or it's like saying
It's
I want
chai.
to. It's like saying I want a dumb Ben Shapiro. It's the same thing.
Same thing. Same thing. It's like going to the ATM machine. You're saying machine twice. Yeah, you see
Ah.
that? For more, by the way, for more Halloween history, I'm gonna throw it out there. One's a podcast, one's a book. The podcast is called Throughline. They are easily my favorite history podcast done by NPR, where they basically their typical shtick or gimmick is that whatever current event is happening, they will have an episode on the history that led to that event. Abortion being overturned. They
Mm.
go back to when it first happened, to when we first had it, and the things and fights that happened since then. Afghanistan, when we left Afghanistan, they gave a great history on Afghanistan's past, all the way to like BC times, to the Middle Ages, to the present day. It's a
How about
great breakdown of
Deflategate?
Don't know. They might have.
How about Pizzagate?
Pizzagate, maybe Gamergate too. They might. I'll look into that. But the podcast is called Throughline, and they re-released their 2021 episode, which was titled "Dance of the Dead," which is the complete history of the holiday known as Samhain, Halloween, and the many ways it has resurrected and uh, it changed its appearance to all of us as it's adapted with cultures, as it's gone through Christianity trying to end it, Protestants trying to end it, capitalism taking in the whole different direction.
South Park
So
Mom's trying to end it.
South Park Mom's trying to end it. So check out that podcast. It's called Throughline. They released it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It is a fantastic podcast. And the book I'd recommend for you, which is available in the Apple Bookstore or Kindle or what have you, is called Trick or Treat: A History of Halloween, which is written by Lisa Morton, who is a guest on the Throughline podcast. This woman is known as the paranormal historian. She has researched Samhain to the
Is she
T,
Professor
and
Broom?
maybe and the history of Halloween through the ages, how it's changed, how it's adapted, how it continues to survive through the changes it's had. So, those are two fantastic Halloween history reads for you and listens. So, check those out when you can. That's my more you know history Halloween segment for you. Hope you guys enjoy that.
Thank you.
Anyways, that again, concluding 4 Features of Fright. Tom, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you for dressing up. You look amazing. Appreciate it.
You know.
Amy couldn't be with us. She lost her voice, so it should be ridiculous having her here and
Well,
just
so
giving
she
facial
could walk on
expressions.
the up where they walk, up where they stay out there in the sun, one day. So she, you know.
Part of that world. Well played. Thank you again, everyone, for watching, for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the last of our spookiness. And again, have a fantastic end to your spooky season. And Thanksgiving is just around the corner, huh? Huh?
But
Huh?
you know what? Just be safe. Don't take down your candy and all that stuff till like maybe November 2nd.
Yeah,
You know,
November 2nd, just to be
y'all
safe.
leave your Christmas things up like half the year. You could set your Halloween thing. Also, that being said,
Yep.
Halloween is I think a superior holiday to Christmas, only in the sense of every day could be Halloween. Every day you could
Mhm.
dress up. Every day you could watch a horror movie. If you watch a Christmas
Mhm.
movie around like you know June, it's a little unless it's
Oh,
Shazam. Um,
oh, yeah, that's it. Only Shazam.
only
That's it.
unless it's
Just that
Shazam.
one.
But or you can watch The Night Before Christmas because that's a Christmas movie all the time, and it's a Halloween movie
Yeah.
all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Whatever you want, baby.
By the way, Hallmark Channel did it again.
They did the red and
They
green.
they started their
Oh,
Christmas movie marathons in mid-October. So my war against Hallmark Channel continues to this day. Hallmark, you can suck it. Stay out of my Halloween month. Anyway, that's all I got there
what
for you.
if the first feature film I get to direct is a Hallmark film and
Just
it's a
make sure
Christmas
it's
movie?
that airs after
But what if
Halloween. I'm
I'm
fine.
like, oh no,
Con-
it has to air during October. I would
we have
change it to be
no
like where it's
choice.
probably meta and like the dude loves Christmas and then the girl loves Halloween
Okay, I'll
and
take
then
that.
so they
That's
have
fine.
to fight and this is like their
Make that happen.
first holiday together.
You do that, I'll allow it. You do that, I'll allow it. Otherwise, we're at war.
So we just do Halloweeny music, but we have the ching 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 in the
That's
background.
cool.
Okay,
The Halloween's still in there. It's
okay,
fine.
okay,
As
okay.
long as you got, that in there, we're good.
And then at the very end, it's like, can I put the like maybe like she puts like a dead tree
Mm-hmm.
instead, and he's like, no, the holiday, and then she's like, it's
Mm-hmm.
festive, and then at the very end
Mm-hmm.
they culminate together where it's like, they put pumpkin ornaments on the thing, and then like
Yes.
at the top of the thing is like maybe like a body getting impaled by a spike or something.
I like it. But then he makes the mistake of blowing out the jack-o'-lantern before midnight, and then Sam's there. And that's how we end it.
And then Sam and Santa Claus are just smoking a stogie like these guys.
They done fucked up.
All right.
All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Halloween. Happy Samhain. Happy All Hallows Eve. Happy Day of the Dead. Take care. Peace.